Have you ever had a long list of pending tasks and felt a heavy weight in your chest every time you looked at them? A kind of inner reluctance that prevents you from getting started. A voice in your head that says, okay, not now, just a little later. And that a little later never seems to arrive? Many of us have experienced this feeling, a shared sensation among many people, from students to employees, and even those who appear very successful on the surface. When this happens, what's the first and simplest label we attach to ourselves? I'm just lazy. A kind of bitter confession that feels like a personality flaw, and we're doomed to this state. But let's take a deep breath right here and try a new perspective. Believe it or not, procrastination very often has nothing to do with laziness. This is a key sentence I want you to keep turning over in your mind throughout this section. Imagine you have a very important project at work, a project that you know could bring you new opportunities, that could significantly contribute to your progress. But every time you want to start, an invisible force pulls you back. Instead of reaching for those important files, you suddenly find yourself on Instagram, mindlessly scrolling for hours. Or, for example, you decide to clean the entire house, even though you know the priority is that project. Do these behaviors sound familiar? This is precisely the strange crossroads where procrastination traps us. We know what's right, we know we should do it, we might even have the motivation to do it, but an invisible barrier prevents us from taking the first step. The name of this barrier isn't laziness, but rather a complex set of psychological factors hidden beneath this seemingly simple behavior. Let me give you a more tangible example. Suppose you have a very important exam. All the notes and books are open in front of you, but instead of reading, you suddenly feel thirsty and need to go to the kitchen. Then you remember that the plants need watering. Then suddenly you want to organize your desk. These are all attempts to escape the main task, not because you are inherently irresponsible, but because something inside you is resisting. Now, what could this something be? Many things. Fear of failure and the worry that you might not get the result you want. Excessive perfectionism and the obsession that everything must be flawless, which makes starting difficult. Stress and anxiety arising from the large volume of tasks, which causes the brain to seek a safe and familiar refuge. Even poor emotional regulation might be involved. For example, when a task creates an unpleasant feeling for us, we unconsciously avoid it. Scientific research has shown that procrastination is directly related to emotion regulation, not time management. That is, we postpone tasks because we cannot cope with the negative feelings associated with doing them. This is a completely different perspective from the simple notion of laziness. So, let's look at this issue with a more open mind this time. That friend of yours who always does things at the last minute, that colleague whose projects are always delayed, or even yourself, might be victims of a series of complex psychological mechanisms that go beyond a simple personality weakness called laziness. Imagine our brain has a kind of dual operating system. One is the rational and forward thinking system that knows we need to study now to do well on tomorrow's exam, or we need to finish that report now to make the boss happy. We also have another system called the pleasure seeking and immediate system that only thinks about the present and looks for instant rewards, like a moment of rest, a new message on the phone, a tasty snack. Now, what happens when we face a difficult and time consuming task? The pleasure seeking system quickly activates and transmits a kind of unpleasant feeling to the rational system. Our brain instinctively avoids bad feelings. So instead of confronting that unpleasant feeling and starting the work, it finds an escape route: procrastination. This is exactly where the mind's pitfall takes shape. We think we're giving ourselves a little break, but in reality, we're running away from facing a challenge. Interestingly, research has shown that when we procrastinate, the same parts of the brain are activated as when we experience pain. This means our brain perceives doing that task as a kind of threat or unpleasant event. On the other hand, there's another concept called delayed gratification. Some of us, either innately or based on our life experiences, have difficulty postponing immediate pleasures and enduring present hardships to achieve greater rewards in the future. Our brains process immediate rewards much more easily and attractively than a result that might be weeks or months away. Clinical experiences of psychologists also show that many individuals who struggle with chronic procrastination had experiences in childhood that caused them to feel insecure or fearful when facing challenges or responsibilities. These experiences can form unhealthy thought patterns in their minds that manifest as procrastination in adulthood. So, you see, the issue is much more than a simple lack of willpower. Our brain is playing a kind of survival game, trying to avoid bad feelings and seek immediate pleasures. Recognizing these mental pitfalls is the first step towards no longer falling victim to them. So, up to this point, we've understood that procrastination is a cunning and complex enemy with roots that go beyond simple laziness. The good news is that to confront any enemy, we must first know it and then fight it with the right weapons. Fortunately, psychological science and successful experiences have provided us with a set of powerful strategies that we can use to break these chains and regain control of our lives. One of the most important first steps is becoming aware of our own procrastination patterns. When does it affect us the most? What emotions trigger us to postpone things? Recognizing these triggers is like finding the enemy's weak spot. The next step is breaking down large tasks into small, manageable steps. When a project seems overwhelmingly huge, our brain instinctively pulls back. But when we divide the same project into several smaller tasks, it becomes much easier to start, and the feeling of accomplishment after completing each one boosts motivation. It's often called the small bites rule. Managing emotions is also key. We need to learn how to face and tolerate those unpleasant feelings that come to us when doing difficult tasks. Mindfulness techniques and emotional regulation can be very helpful here. Another powerful tool is creating structure and a schedule. When we set specific times for our tasks and have a routine, the likelihood of procrastination decreases significantly. Like a train moving on tracks, we continue on our path more easily with a plan. Let's not forget about rewarding ourselves after completing tasks. Our brain responds positively to rewards, and this makes us more motivated to do the next tasks. A short break, a cup of coffee, or anything you enjoy can be an effective reward. And finally, being kind to ourselves. Procrastination is something that happens to everyone. We shouldn't blame ourselves for it. Instead of getting caught up in guilt, let's try to learn from our mistakes and try again with a positive approach. These are just a few of the scientific and practical strategies for overcoming procrastination. There are many success stories of people who have been able to break this habit and achieve their goals by using these very techniques. So don't despair. Breaking free from the chains of procrastination is possible. It just requires awareness, practice, and a little patience. You too can be one of these successful individuals.